Good afternoon. Hope you're having a lovely day. Right. Um, that was the first of the broadcast. It will not be the last. I can hear myself, so let me just kill the sound on that stream. Right. Okay. So, what I'm going to try and do today, I want to do today, is do some flight instruments because I need it for the links as well. Um, so there's been quite a bit of progress. The overhead panel's done. I've cleaned up some of the sort of structural transitions from the front of the cockpit to the cargo space. But honestly, I'm getting a little bit knocked with that, so I've been spending some time on the links. So I am going to turn to the slightly easy or easier thing of making some flight instruments. Like I say, they are common. They are going to be common with a few other things, so it does kind of help me out a bit. So let's change that. Right. So let's find some pedestals. So let's turn the CDU off. The overhead's off. Right. So just to make life a little bit easier, I'm going to copy that. It's not that we need it, it's just a case of it makes it easier to check the scale, etc. So let's change that angle. It was 10 degrees. As always, it's better to remember your angles that you're working with, or be consistent. Don't go for half values. Try and go for full values. So rather than 9.5 degrees, try to go at 10. Things like that will make your life a lot easier. Right, so this image, while not entirely square, due to perspective, etc., is about the best we've got. We know that that panel there, or this panel is roughly the right size, given what we knew from the DESUS racking dimensions. So we've scaled that off there. So it's a pretty damn good guess that all this is the right size. So what we're going to do, if I can find a fresh, there we go. Let's go ref, panel, vert, just to remember, hang on, vertical, just so that I remember that we are straight upright and I'm not going to be stupid and try and do something later on. So let's go with this center box, why not? So it's 20 mil wide, I'm going to go 200 mil. Again, trying to stay at whole figures. And again, I am going to try and, regardless of the background, I'm going to try and make it center on the image. Sorry, on the center line of the model on the zero plane. So let's get rid of that back face. I'm going to grab those edges. so you can see what I'm trying to do. I'm going to put a very slight bevel on them. So that's 2 mil. Good with that. So when I looked at the UH1 in Reforger, which we can do again actually. Reforger tools. Okay. That's something to deal with later. Let's go in Arma Reforger. So this was what I had open the other day. So we've gone into shading, lighting, wireframe. So this PSI here, that's the equivalent. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hang on, what? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Okay, so 18. So it's 36 round. It's interesting to see that these are on as decals, which I did years ago. I used to do all the labels and things like that as decals years ago. I got told off for it. So that's interesting to see that they're doing that in here now. So that will be a PNG or something with a transparency. So that could be some fun. Anyway, right, so 36 round. These lamps should be slightly over the dial as well. That's the illuminator for the instrumentation. Anyway, right, so oh no, I take it back. Seaking ones are, well, no, they are slightly over the edge of the dial because it's, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Just me being picky. Right, so it's going to go 36, 30 mil radius, 10 mil deep for that on the moment. So we're going to move this over to the left side because I think that was the slightly more accurate, given that, you know, the center line's there and the edge panel's there. So did I just move that? Let's scale this down to fit. So I saw the BW mods, rather nice NH90. Hate the helicopter, but like the model. I'm not an NH90 fan. It's kind of interesting, really. It is an interesting project, interesting helicopter. It's not very well liked by its operators, which I find kind of entertaining. I'm not saying it was a bad helicopter, but it was beset very early on by a lot of problems. 2009-ish, when I was doing something with BI Sim. I was in Greding in Germany, teaching VBS, and together with the Marks, which is Mark Lacey, is he's now the creative director. And another Mark that I forgot the name of, fantastic Australian guy, really, really nice guy. He went on to work for somebody else shortly after. But point of the story is, on the course were 2 German helicopter pilots that were on essentially garden leave. They were two really good friends, fantastic guys, who were literally like doing courses because they could, and it was like their last year of work, and they weren't really flying. One of which, and I'm sorry guys, I don't remember your names. It is a long time ago. Um, one of which was one of the initial operational capability test crew, and he was responsible for signing off the aircraft into service, or one of the people responsible for signing the aircraft off into service, and he hated it. He absolutely hated it. One of the other guys or the other guy that I was talking to, was on BO 105s, which he loved. Sorry, UH-1Ds that he loved. He had flown 105s previously, and BO 105 anti-tank, and he was. They were a pair of them were a joy. They were brilliant. Really enjoyed the company. Fantastic. I gotta say, every time that I've worked in Germany, I've had a whale of a time. People have been brilliant. Um, I've had a couple of German girlfriends and quite a few German friends. Um, every time I have really enjoyed it. I lived in Hamburg for about 3 years on and off when I worked for Airbus. And again, that was a fantastic experience. Wasn't always the greatest time, but the people that I was working with um, were brilliant. It was a group called EADS. It was before Airbus bought EADS, but we were working with EADS Simpa, and a guy called Uwe Farkas was my European director, and he was a really nice guy. Um, everybody in the office was brilliant. Um, we had a team retreat, and it was we're there to sort of hash out what the plan was for the next year, and it's just like a long weekend, I guess, in a Bavarian lodge, and I still have fond memories of that, and it was again just a really nice time, but fond because a friend of mine from the office, or two friends of ours from the office, um, were dancing around each other. They both really liked each other, and it was just hilarious to watch them trying not to chat each other up. Um, and we all pretended that they weren't sneaking into each other's hotel rooms at the end of the night, which was kind of hard to do. Um, but yeah, lovely people, fantastic time, lot of good memories. Um, but yeah, NH90. A few years after that, I was working on a sim project. I'd finished with Airbus, had gone, was doing private stuff actually, was doing my own business. And we were asked to make some models for the NH90 simulator. And I was talking to one of the test guys there who was in charge of actually simulating the aircraft. And his response when I asked was it any good was, "Don't talk to me again about that." He was not happy. Um, it was a horrible thing to simulate, and they couldn't get the level of accuracy or the level of detail that they wanted at the time. There's a lot of technical struggles to it, and then all the in-service questions or the serviceability questions came out, which proved to be an absolute nightmare for them to work around. Again, it was interesting to watch, having done stuff previously with Westlands or Augusta Westland. It was I hadn't done really anything with Eurocopter at the time, and it was NH Industries, not really Eurocopter, but it was essentially Eurocopter working with other European partners, and it was fascinating to actually get the story inside. But there was things like components falling off and things like that. Florian, I think, was one of the German test pilots that I was working with. I want to say Florian Goll, but I don't think it was. He did something with the Tiger as well. Christ, I can't remember what his name was now. It's gonna bug me. Not that it really matters. Yeah, they were having a horrible time of it. There was initially some massive problems with the quality of the wiring harnesses and things like that, and they had a number of sensor issues that were largely down to poor quality assurance from what I remember in the early days. So again, this is 2010 probably at the late. No, 2009, 2010, yeah. And they were having problems there, and those problems seemed to persist through the entire life of the aircraft. And it just seems that France was the only one that was only one of the nations that were really interested in keeping the aircraft going. Everybody else was trying to find a way to get out of the project. An Aussie guy that I know, he worked for her. I think it was de Havilland, Australia. It's now Boeing. He'd done some work trying to support Tiger as a subcontractor before going to de Havilland, and he had very nasty things to say about it. He said it was one of the worst aircraft he'd ever worked on. So that's kind of entertaining. There's lots of gossip and stuff like that, and a lot of it some people will put down to sour grapes, but realistically, I don't think it was. There is plenty of people that in the industry that are very critical of it. All you got to do is really Google NH90 problems, and you will see some pretty horrific stories about safety and quality assurance. Like random fires and availability. A good aircraft is an aircraft that you can literally walk out to day in, day out, and it starts. It doesn't go unserviceable on a regular basis. Again, I get in trouble with the US for doing this as well, for the American guys, because I repeatedly say that the F-22 is a pile of crap, and they get very upset with me. And I'm not saying that it's a bad design. I'm not saying that it's a bad fighter. I am just saying that an aircraft that goes unserviceable and is unreliable is not a good aircraft. And it has very short range for the class of aircraft it is. It's very high cost of maintenance. And if you go on the rule of thirds, a third of your fleet at any one time should be available for combat operations, and a third should be in maintenance, and a third should be available for training and concurrency, or concurrency for the your pilots. And it's probably, I think the F-22 has never managed to get above like 25-30% at any one time that is available for operational use. Has limited capability because it doesn't have a modern capable data link. The F-35 does. It has a system called MADL or something. The F-22, the solution to it not having a data link, because it was cut for budget purposes, because it was designed as an interceptor, or it was masked as an interceptor, not a multi-role fighter. The air-to-ground capability was added in later, or it was cut out and then added back in later. But even then, it can't do half of what the F-35 can do. Blah blah blah. But the solution for the F-22 was to put a U-2 or a TR-1 up and orbit above the operational area, and use it as a data link, as a relay, using low probability intercepts. Sugar. Have I dropped a bollock there? Low probability intercepts radio communication as opposed to digital. The digital data links that the rest of NATO uses, like Link 16, etc. Oh, come on. So let's pack that. So copy and paste. I am not going to bother with the screws because we've just seen on the UH-1 it's the decals that matter. Oh, we're going to do all the screws with decals. So these next ones down are actually smaller. So the lights stay the same. So I'm going to grab this. So I'm having a little bit of a dilemma about how to do this now, because the diameter is dropping down. So I'm going to scale from that point. So the way that I've done this, I am literally just splitting out the faces of the ones at different sizes. So because those dials are different, but the surrounds remain the same, I'm going to leave the UV stacked and just move the face out. So when I grab all of these, if I go into polygon mode, grab all of these and pack, what you'll see is the bit that we've scaled is now, oh sugar. The part that we scaled is now also scaled, it's smaller. So let's do that. So the offset to that is going to be 45 mil. Just deselect that, move that face out. So paste that again. We're going to move that 45 mil down so it's consistent depth. Oh, sorry, consistent spacing. So I'm going to move this one 90 mil down. So on here now, you see I've been moving these faces out, but keeping the surrounds the same. So lock stacked. I mean, I guess, I don't know whether we can actually look at that. So that's the EMAT. What I actually wanted to look at, there we go. So that's the interior texture. So what they've got, VFX extension, I'm not even sure what that is. I'm guessing, oh, it's a mask, okay. So all this is essentially multi-mats, or what would be multi-mats in Arma 3. So that's going to be an interesting challenge, because I hate doing them. Still not got used to Reforger's tool controls. So I'm going to keep cracking on. Because it doesn't really make a difference. It's only when I come to do the textures, come to do the actual yeah, the textures on the cockpit that it becomes a bit of a problem. So we'll work it out then. So again, you can see why I've left this stupid center star thing in, because it lets me just make some adjustments. So that's 56 mil, but what we can do, copy paste. So again, these are going to be Desus panels, so it's going to be the same width, so that gives a dimension we can mess with. can mess with. It gives us the dimension to work with. So we can scale all of that later if needs be. I'm guessing that is going to be the same as this. I think we're better off. No, that's. Just wondering whether that's a glassless slide or something, or that's scaled differently. It shouldn't be. I'm going to leave it as is because I don't really need any more work than I've already got. So let's just turn that CDU on. I'm going to grab that. Actually, let's grab that. Right. So that should be 10 degrees, right? Yeah. Oops. So let's see if our scaling is... Oh, I'm quite impressed with my little self. Looks to be pretty good, that. Although, it looks like I would have been much better to get a 2-panel. So let's go in here. CDU. So if I grab that, and grab that, so minus 80. Oh, sugar, wrong direction. Minus 80. There we go. Got a slight remap to do this time around, so it's not as bad as cutting around and moving faces, etc. At least we don't need to do as much. So I am, because it's just going to be the same diesel line. I realise this has moved slightly out. I'm not too bothered about that. So what I want to do there is grab those. Oh, that's annoying. I didn't realise. I should have, because the panel we got them from is at a different angle. So it would have been 15 degrees, that's -5. Dope. That'll teach me. Which is a lesson I won't learn. I'll do it again, I guarantee I'll do it again. I should know better. Let's go back, right. So this should now fit better. Oops. Right. I was expecting that to be a little bit. I'm not getting to the exact D's of spacing now because it just it's a pain in the arse. It's 9.46 something per whole center, so excuse me, just need to get a mouthful. This, I'm guessing, I don't know what this actually is, but I'm guessing it's some sort of like GPS panel, etc. So if we do a little cut, so I'm going to grab this edge, and I'm just going to do a tiny bevel. So we're going to do a 1mm bevel. It's going to be square like that. So if I select all that edge, I'll go into perspective view so you can see what I'm doing. So with that edge there, I can just remove it. Come on, you little sod. So what we've got is an ever so slight the screen is going to be ever so slightly smaller, so it's a little kind of beveled in. It's probably easier to see like that. So let's grab these edges, and we're going to round the edge ever so slightly. Go on the back. Actually, we could probably leave it square and you wouldn't notice, but I'm going to do again a small round. So you can see that line shot straight across there. So that's telling me that we have a very messed up N-gon. So before I do this, I've got a couple of choices. I don't want to triangulate because that's going to cause me some more problems. Sorry, edge bevel. 1 mil. Right. Bevel. 1 mil. So if I now go over here with snap-on, come on, come on, here, point, there we go. And go to, bloody tools not picking up, there we go. Right, so I've just put sliced a new polygon in there. So what I can do is I can grab these and go geometry, sorry, polygon, merge, yours fine. Right, so I should now be able to bevel this edge without having to faff. So we've previously said that we're going to do all these little rebates in normal, or I've previously said it rather than we. I have decided, largely because it's a little bit easier to do so I'm looking for, it's when you get tight things like that, it potentially causes issues, and sometimes you can't avoid it, but it shouldn't be too bad. Right, so I'm going to grab that bottom face, because no matter what, that's going to be a separate material, or at the very least I should say it's going to be like an LCD texture as opposed to this top one. I'm not entirely sure how sections work in Reforger, but I would imagine it's going to be the same. But again, from the look of it, everything is multi-mats now, which I don't know whether I like or not. I don't like doing them. I don't like having them or working on them. Cause I don't know what the limit is in Reforger, but it used to be the limit was 5 materials or 4 materials and a normal or something. I can't remember. Used to annoy me, because you'd then have to have 2 sets of textures, or you have to have different set of textures if you wanted something that had more than five textures on it, or texture types on it. It shouldn't really be a problem with a vehicle like this, I guess. It's just found it a bit limiting when I was dealing with buildings. Well, at the time I was actually making the big carriers, but they kind of died on their arse. Mike and I think we both of us kind of burnt out on it, because Mike was making the superstructures. I made the hull, and the game limitations and Arma 3's real virtuality engine is rather annoying. Geometry, vertex. merge. Somewhere I have screwed up, but sodger. Copy paste. Right. So if you just come out here. They're all going to be the same size button. So let's stick with a 13mm cube. Oh, come on. I've got fat fingers today. That was meant to be right. And that was meant to be 3mm thick, but for some reason it's not. So it's one polygon. So let's flatten that there. And let's go geometry, polygon, inset, 0.5mm. I don't know why, but I just had this urge to say "bam" and thinking of the future Arma Spice Weasel. Weird shit gets into my head some days. So we don't need to go mega high poly with this, so I am gonna just square the edge 750 micrometers, so 0.75mm. At that size, you're not gonna see it. So, what did we say? It was 13mm. So 16mm there. So if I so we're going to come up 16mm. So I am torn here because it looks like not everything that I've done is correct. Again, not the first time, but oh, they are definitely oblong. They are not square. So let's grab that. Actually, it looks like that would be the more appropriate bit to grab. So we're going to come up 2 mil. So bringing these down 2 mil each should bring them in line with the image, I'm guessing. I don't know whether that blue's any better to see. So all of these are about 10 mil deep. So if we come back to our model view, our dials really probably need to be a little bit shallower. Right. So I'm just using the UV to grab edges. Actually, bollocks to this, hang on. So again, just use the UV to select these dial edges. And I'm just going to scale them back 75%. So let's find these centers. Right. So again, UV to select the centers. Move them back in. Right. So I absolutely loathe these dials. They're just a nightmare. Pretty sure. So again, it's nice to see they're using decals. So what's on C is 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So they're still using 36 round for that. So again, I'm just going to grab all of that. And let's just drag the edge down here. Bear in mind, this is a distorted angle as well, which is why not everything's lining up. Right, so what I want to do is grab that edge, scale it back in ever so slightly. We can get rid of this because it doesn't look like there's one on there. Just going to jump into that. I need to finish that panel actually. That panel's not done. Yeah, I need to finish all these woofer and whatever. Right. So I was going to just jump out of that for a moment. So that is going to be, let's see, 40 mil. Let's try that. 40 by 5 mil deep. So I want to move that back onto the center. Scale that to 200. There's a couple of ways we could do this now. So if I do a 1 round, that gives us that shape, but you can see it looks like I need to be chopping that bottom bit off. So I grab, don't bite me, top and bottom. See, all of these instruments are actually standard items. So there should be specs for them somewhere. So maybe one of my projects is to find the proper specs for all of these. Because the sizes are industry standard, they are just different sizes for different applications. It's like general aviation instrumentation tends to be smaller and lighter and cheaper. Military tends to be more robust for obvious reasons, but it also tends to be a larger format display because military aircraft are obviously larger and have more space to play. And they have to be night vision goggle friendly, etc. So I would really like to understand, because while you would assume they'd be on the Desus rack system, but I guess that may not be the case. I don't know. So it doesn't appear to be. Let's try and find. I did go hunting for images of. These are actually Seaking cockpit instrumentation. You can see that's Nimrod actually. Yeah, that's Nimrod. Nimrod, Puma, General Comms Panel, Seaking DME unit, which is distance measuring equipment as part of the navigation suite. It gives you the distance to a beacon. So I think that is actually right. That's Seaking HC4. So that's an HC4 layout. So there's a few bits we need to factor in. That'll be, I'm gonna guess, weapons arm. Previously, what would have been the weapons arming panel. I don't know. Right. So that's like a collar, and it is sitting proud. The light comes on that side, and we have. So if I come in, I grab that. So I can delete that. I want to grab that edge. Because that is round, that is centered on that, I can scale that using the center point. If I flatten this now, I've then moved that edge up. It's going to match completely with what's below it. And what I can do is grab all of these edges. Actually, grab that edge. Oh. So that's 0. Oh, you bugger. bloody UV mode. Edit. So grab that, put a slice in up there, slice in up to there. You bugger. I'm sure there's another way I could have constructed this, but I would have had a nightmare matching it to the edge. So I didn't want to bother. Oh. So again, trying to clear up as many potentially problematic faces as I can at this stage, so I don't end up having to do a ridiculous amount of culling of other faces. So if I grab these edges, edge extend, and I can go from there down to there. We just have to close off these ends. So it looks like I haven't made that symmetrical. I don't know why. I obviously missed a trick there. Well, that was bloody stupid of me, wasn't it? Not to worry. Let's grab all that crap up there. Let's grab all that crap there. Geometry, duplicate, mirror. Fixed. Right. So I'm going to be even more obnoxious in a moment because I think I've just screwed up again. I have. I have dropped a proper bollock. Damn you. So I just cut the back plate away. Shit. How I did not see that, I do not know, but there we go. Trying to be a smartass does not get you anywhere, but yeah, it's about the only way I was going to get that edge to match, so it may have been a little bit more long-winded than necessary. But it does at least match up perfectly. So, yeah, more cleanup. So if I go back onto perspective for the moment, what I want to do, or what I need to do, is grab these edges and bring them all the way back. So I'm gonna go back another millimeter, because that's gonna be my guide for fixing something that I noticed earlier. So let's unwrap this. Damn you all. Oh, you swine. I think I can probably get away with doing this. Yeah. So I've just unwrapped that with that edge attached. It wasn't attached before. Didn't show you. I should have. I should have explained what I was trying to do, but again, I'm just trying to keep everything together and make it as easy to find and use and select as I possibly can. So let's grab that. I'm going to place it on that dial. So if I go to this image, you can see it's all kind of hovering off. There's a little shadow behind it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto my right view, and I am just going to grab, I'm going to move all of those, this 1 millimeter that I left behind. So instead of it being perfectly flat to the face, come on, you can just see changing the light. So what I should do, but I'm not going to, is put a little box or something behind that. You're not going to see it, and the top box here is joining it to the working face. So I'm not. You pain in the arse. Bloody camera. Yeah, so I'm not going to stress too much about it. So let's go back in here. That's unwrapped. This panel I need to move because it's going to mess with me UV. So again, just trying to keep things tidy. So these are all my buttons. So I don't know whether they've got actual wording on them or not. It's hard to tell. They probably have. So what I am going to quickly do is just do a quick project from view. So it's proportioned them out nicely. Those are the screw rebates. Everything is out of scale at the moment, so let's just go and grab all of that. Lock stacked, so we're getting closer and closer. So looking at this, that's a light and that's a light. So we're gonna move, we're gonna go back over here and grab that piece, copy, paste. And these do move, by the way. I used to fly, it's a bit of a flex, I used to fly Cessna 208s very briefly. I was bumping my hours for parachute jumps. I was building hours flying for parachute jumpers. When I lived in Lincolnshire, I lived in Newark for a while. Not far from, geometry, duplicate, mirror. Not far from Waddington, and I was stationed there as an Oggie. I did stints at Cromwell, which is also very close. But I used to fly this absolutely shagged out Cessna 208. Single engine, long fuselage. It was a fun plane. There's a lot of power for it for its size. Really, it was just a bigger version of the 172s that I learned to fly in, and the 152 that I learned to fly in. Shame about the contrast on that. So what I want now, see this, according to this image, which I'm going to say based off that helmet is actually Royal Air Force, but the avionics are probably an earlier version which makes it an HC6, and I don't think there's any mention of because that panel will be where are we? Seaking. That panel picture will be in here. So that's the one we're using. That is an HC4. This is definitely an HC4, so you can see that dial. So we've got a little bit of cribbing and frigging to do. Toggle switch, so I don't know what actually that is, but logically it's some sort of breaker. That panel looks to be the same. That's HC4. Yeah, it's a standard panel, standard fuse panel. See, this is what I want to go for, because I know it's a known British version. If this is the HC6, realistically, there's not going to be much difference in it in terms of what the pilot sees. And what I mean, I can't really make the CDUs work properly. At least I don't think I can. Same for these radio panels or whatever, but it's all cosmetic. But I'm still going to try as much as I can. So while I am going to use this as reference, I'm going to try and keep to this known HC4 type for me. So what we're going to do is make my life a little bit harder again. Let's go on to back. I'm going to copy that. Actually, there we go. Should we do this now or not? Just trying to make my life a little bit easier, and by splitting this, I can mirror the panel. It makes lining up a few things a bit easier as well. So that's 12 mil, we'll say. So smooth that up. 200%. I probably do have ADHD, given how I'm just bouncing around things. I apologise. Right. I was thinking of doing it a couple of different ways, but it's going to be easier if I actually have an object that I can manipulate. So that's just a square, so I can actually just scale it and not lose dimensional consistency in the X and the Y. So I'm gonna, what I'm making is I'm making a cutter or a form. Let's go on the back. It's gonna add a little 1.2 simple bevel on it. Let's just cut these away as well. I'll just turn those off for the moment. copy paste. So I'm going to move that over to there. Actually 35. Nope. 36 mil. Sod it, we'll just go 23 mil. So geometry, duplicate, mirror, use that as a center line, so that's consistent. I'm going to grab those, just create a new object. Geometry, boolean, subtract. See, that has made a bit of a mess in terms of verts and whatever, but we can fix that easily enough. Booleans always make a mess, and you will spend time cleaning them up. They are good and they are bad in equal measure. Again, ooh, it did not like that. Geometry, vertex, merge. So I'm going to grab all these faces. I probably should have just sliced it and done the extra work, but c'est la vie. So just flatten them all just to make sure. So if we do a geometry polygon merge, okay. So we grab these back faces. We can then just do a polygon extrude. Bring them slightly proud. Grab an edge. Again, I've got a couple of ways I could have done this. Or, I mean, you can do this with an edge shader. I don't have much experience with how Reforger sort of treats those like curvatures and whatever, so I would rather make something like this that I can then just quite easily lot out. So if I just go on the right hand view, quickly grab those faces. Again, trying to do as much cleanup as I can. Before it all goes horribly wrong, because it always will. Excuse me. again, sorry, I'm doing stuff off screen, but you can see I'm trying to do a lot of the cleanup. Oh, I just realised I started telling the bloody story about the Cessna. Um, yeah, this crappy old Cessna 208. It was well used. It had been around the block a few times. And the little lights that overshadow the instruments. There was one that at the right engine RPM, the vibration through the airframe was just right that it would literally work its way around, and it would do a full 360. And it was at times really, really annoying, but immensely entertaining, because a lot of these jump flights, you go up to about 10,000 feet and then you go back down again. You're not carrying a full fuel load, and in most cases, you're coming down just as the jumpers are coming down as well. So you kind of clear the area, do a wide loop around, and then as you line up on the runway, they're either landed, or the stragglers or the lucky ones that get the longer flight are coming in to land, and then you get cleared in, and normally you'd be on approach. So it could take 15 minutes to get up to altitude, 15-20 minutes, assuming the weather's good. And it's a great way to build hours, and it's a great way to practice landing. A few years after that, because that was like mid-90s, I went to Malawi with a friend of mine a friend that I'd met at Airbus. His family had a huge place on the west side of Lake Malawi, and they had like safari lodges inland as well. And they had a little Cessna. I think it was a 182. I was rated to fly it anyway. It wasn't a problem. But that 208, those landings, because it was mostly grass strip landings, came in very useful. Bush flying is a very different kind of bush flying. Andy's brother had previously hit I want to say wildebeest, but I'm not sure what it was. He came in for a landing, and what he thought was a puddle turned out to be a hole that had kind of grown in the runway, which is not unusual, but the animals had been using it as like a wallow, a mud wallow. So Jonathan came in, and this wildebeest stands up. So he literally hit his landing gear and drop on the back of a wildebeest, and near wrecked the plane. Well, it did actually destroy the plane, but fortunately everyone got out alive. The wildebeest had a very close shave on its back. It was a bit of a mess apparently, but everybody walked away. But no one told me that until we landed at this airstrip. I was warned to watch out for the wildlife, I thinking birds, because there's no air traffic control where we were. Once you come out of the main airports, you literally radio in to say where you're going, what you're doing. They make a note of it, and then that's it. At least that's how it was back then. I don't know what it's like now. Um, you used to quite literally just talk to all the other aircrew. You put a radio shout out to say that you're in the area, and other planes kind of noted where you were and where you were heading, and that was it. It's a very bizarre place. Uh, Brushing my teeth one morning as a few of our friends had come over to help Andy's family. It was a bit of a holiday, but we were also there to do a bit of work and help out where we could. They were rebuilding the lodges, and they were trying to open their tourist business at the time. And there was a gang of about 8 or 10 of us that were zipping around doing chores. It was fun. It was great. But came out of one of the lodges onto a balcony, brushing my teeth, and there's this yelp from a friend across the hall. So I rushed back in. There's no doors on. It was, again, in the middle of being built. And my mate stood there in his underwear with a toothbrush in his mouth, staring out of his bathroom window. And there's a giraffe looking at him. We were like 2 and a bit stories up. So it was a rather cool experience. Wasn't I didn't do this one either, but Andy was saying they came back to the plane one time, having been up to the main ranch, up to the main house, and there was a pride of lions sheltering underneath it in the shade. They were using it as a shade. So, again, I wasn't there for that, but Africa is a strange place. The poverty to the riches is also weird. We left a place where it was all sort of champagne and lobster, and flew 90 minutes in some of the most spectacular scenery you'll ever see. It was amazing. And we're literally in an area that is populated with people living in mud huts, like they have for a couple of thousand years. It was kind of a bit surreal. 90 minutes back, and it's fast food and cold beer. Copy paste that, let's bring that down. So geometry, duplicate, mirror. So I'm just going to steal a few bits from the overhead panel. So we'll have one of them, we'll have one of these. Another good was, again, this was deployment. We were doing a bush warfare exercise. Um, Kenya. Again, this would have been late 90s, I'm gonna guess. Would have been probably 98, something like that. I was a junior officer by then, and I was flight lieutenant by then actually, but fairly new flight lieutenant, and I had to bollock a lot of my guys for train surfing. They got nicked for literally standing on the tops of trains um, on the journey. Everyone did it, but it was technically against the law. So when he came back, heads bowed, all the rest of it, I had to give him a bollocking officially. My NCO that dealt with it is still a friend of mine. I had to give them a lecture, and then Sai took him out and just said, "Don't worry about it. The boss is just filling the paperwork." I never put it on anybody's record. To be brutally honest, I would have done it as well. If I was there, I would have been up there with them. So I'm not going to penalise anybody for doing what it is. They all paid the fine. And now when I say fine, I mean the bribe to the policeman, because they were all dirty. And that was their punishment as far as I was concerned. So I was a bloody awful officer. I've got to admit. My guys liked me, but my command chain of command despaired a lot of the time. We had an op on. It was a training exercise on Dartmoor. I've got a load of dits for this one, but again, Simon, my mate, he was a sergeant with us on this one. He was a regular. I was auxiliary air force at the time, so um, we've known each other for years at this point. It wasn't a problem. We came in on a Puma. We were supposed to be it was supposed to be tactical warfare, I guess, for us, or escape and evasion exercise. We were supposed to be being chased by, I believe it was Paras, I'm not sure. It's a long time ago. So they were supposed to track us and chase us across Dartmoor. And, shit, what happened there? And, two Pumas, one of the Pumas went unserviceable and returned. So we flew out. The weather was absolutely abysmal. We were being bounced around like nobody's business. And the aircrew let us off, or dumped us off. We weren't in the location we were supposed to be, which happens more often than you'd think. I did go and curse the Puma crew afterwards. I went out my way to actually find them at Benson and roast them. But me and my guys off were dumped in the middle of bloody Dartmoor. It's pissing rain. There's virtually no visibility. Managed to get the guys, or get to a point where we could use the radio, only to be told that the exercise was called off due to bad weather, which was lovely, and that we needed to walk out to a road because the helicopter couldn't come back and get us. which I duly did. We got the guys out. It was miserable, and we were sheltering in a car park, and we were told it'd be about 3 hours, but we expected to be fed and watered, so we had nothing but very light belt kit. So I ended up calling for pizza. Local pizza place was about 20 miles away. It cost me, I think the bill came to something like about 43 quid or something. Bear in mind back then a pizza was like 4 or 5 quid or something, I can't remember. They weren't big pizzas, they were just, whatever. So it only ended up costing me, I think by the end of it, it was probably about 60 something quid, 60, 70 quid. For everybody to get a pizza. They got a delivery in, and Simon rang it through on my mobile, and it's crappy. um, Again, you probably won't remember. Most people won't remember these. There's a mini metro. It was like a sky blue mini metro came, sat in the middle of this car park, seriously thinking it was all a piss take, and he was absolutely terrified when a shitload of rock apes popped out of the dry stone walls, armed to the teeth, banging on his window, demanding pizza. um, we got back to do the debrief, and as was the culture at the time, everybody had a debrief on the flight. You got to have your say. What could we have done better? Blah blah blah. And one of the guys turned around and said, "We can give the boss pizza tokens." So I got famous for giving the guys pizza, which my chain of command was not happy about, because if I did it once, it was going to be expected. Everyone else was expected to kind of do the same thing. The guys liked it, and quite a few of them, came privately and said thanks, and appreciate going above and beyond. But there's a number of my colleagues that were giving me dirty looks for months afterwards, because everybody had heard the story, and their guys were expecting them to provide pizza if it all went tits up next time. So you can't win. Right. I'm trying to work out what the next. I know what I need to do. So if I grab all of that, I can delete that. Bugger off. There we go. So let's grab that. I'm going to bring that forward. So what I'm trying to do at the moment is use that dial that I've already made. I'm going to use it as a slice. There we go. So we can grab this. Thinking about the debt on Dartmoor, I even know where the lay-by was. It's a little car park with a dry stone wall on the south side. It wouldn't take much to find it again, actually. We did some fun stuff anyway. I really enjoyed my time in. I hated parts of it as well. The politics of it all upset me. I had some issues post Bosnia. I was very angry. And the same for first Gulf War when I came back as well. I was very frustrated. And in that respect, I don't think it was any different than anybody else either. But at the time, PTSD was it was known. It's been known for hundreds of years, just given different names. But when I went out there, I was arguably too bloody young, and certainly too naive in a lot of ways. And I thought I understood what was happening and why we were there, etc. And when we came back, there was just too many questions as to why we weren't allowed to finish the job, blah blah blah. And there's some things happened out there that I, would prefer never happened, but it's all part of life, it's experience. So I'm just gonna grab those edges. Because we're gonna hide them by doing a chamfer on them. Yeah, but overall, military service, great way to learn who you are. Great way to make some amazing friends. I am still friends with people that I served with, and I haven't actually seen for 20 plus years. I still talk to most of them every Sunday. We have a big group call. There's a few less of us these days. Cancer has taken up quite a few of us, and motorcycle accidents. I hate to say it, suicide as well. But the reasons for those are very complex. And not easy to deal with for anybody. I don't wish it on anybody. If you're struggling, go and talk to somebody. Just say it out loud. Saying it out loud helps. So, looking at this, see that goes back before beveling. So what I might do, No, I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it. Right. Ooh. Oh, bugger. Right. I've made an absolute pig's ear of keeping things tidy, so I need to scrap a few things. It's well, I guess continuing with the dits and whatever. Post Bosnia, we all buggered off down to a friend's. One of the guys is half French, Georges, and his family's got a place near Cannes. And most of my mates, we were all big into motorcycles, so we all, took when we took leave, got on the bikes and went down to Cannes. Abused Georges' family's generosity, and we had a few weeks down there riding around the south of France, um, generally making a nuisance of ourselves, and having a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun doing that, actually, thinking about it. Another one, some friends and I were motorcycle touring in Germany. I was CBR 1000, I think, at the time, and oh bugger, that's the wrong one. And no, sorry, I had a K75, a BMW K75, and had a pretty nasty accident coming onto no, off the autobahn. Was doing about 90 mile an hour, and slowing down toward a ramp, an off ramp, and promptly slid around the corner. The bike went out from underneath me and completely trashed the bike, and didn't know what to do. I was kind of like, oh shit, foreign country, don't know how anything works. Police turned up, dealt with everything in the typical German efficiency. Really nice guys. Got us recovered back off the autobahn, and left us by the side of the road, waiting for a pickup. And this truck turns up. Couldn't deal with the bikes. It was rigged for cars, and we weren't happy with how he was planning on strapping our very expensive bikes to the back of his truck. Because two of the five of us went down, and the bikes were bollocksed. And I ended up calling a friend who was stationed at RAF Larbrook, and I was living in Bristol at the time, so I had friends at Lynham, and Lynham regularly flew training flights at the time into Germany and Larbrook, so this is when the British military or the Royal Air Force was still kind of a presence in Germany. So we ended up abusing the rules, and my bike and my mate Andy's bike went back to the UK in the back of a C130 as spare parts. Oh, damaged equipment, I think it was actually. So it wasn't a lie. It was just bugger. There we go. Wasn't like it was just a slight obfuscation of the truth, but it saved us a fortune. We were looking at it was going to be like 600 quid each to ship them back. And again, that was 90s, so it was a lot of money. And it would have affected my no claims bonus as well. And at that time, I was paying a small fortune for motorcycle insurance. You always did. But that was, again, one of my better holidays. So you've made an absolute pig's ear of that now. So I'm going to undo these. I go back to what we did before. I'm going to bevel the edges that aren't done. So I think it was 2.5mm I used. Point 0.025. So what I should have done, I don't know how well this is going to work, because it doesn't tend to unwrap very well. That's unwrapped better than I thought it was going to unwrap. So let's grab those 4 edges, which should now bring it back in constraints. Alright. Not unhappy with that. That's worked better than I thought it was going to work. So looking at that, now again, if we go look in here, all of those bolts are being done with like little decals. So I am not going to make those bolts. Let's save on the polygons. Right, so now we've got some consistency. And we can use these surrounds. So I'm going to clone this one. Copy paste that. And we're going to, ooh. Careful what you get, I guess. grab that. So I'm just going to move it. That's alright. I am trying to do a little bit of cleanup like we did before, and I'm maybe since it's worked once, it'll work again. See, that looks distorted to me, but here's another trick. So if we grab that, and I do a project from view, so that should, it could, because that camera is square, etc. That shouldn't be a problem. So I should now be able to grab all of that edge, and you see the light blue there is stitching to it. Oof. So it's moved it around. So that is twisted. So if I go geometry, UV operators, mirror, no, actually, yeah, let's not do that. It was a thought. So I'm going to do a project from view here. So you can see all this is stretched back. So to get around that, I'm going to grab that. This is what I should have done in the first place, and just size that down. Doesn't have to be precise, but you know, it kind of helps, doesn't it? Ah, dear. Right. So, because we have that instrument there, and I do now know what that instrument is called, because dun 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 somewhere there we go, it is a forward lateral velocity indicator. So it is essentially a sphere held back in a square. So what I want to do is grab that face and I'll go geometry, where are we, polygon, inset. I'm going to go 1mm. So I'm going to grab that edge. Actually, just grab all of them. So let's flatten that down. So right now we have a really shitty circle in this. Just to bear with me a second. Back. Protect from view. Somewhere. Okay. So again, we need to do a bit of polygon cleanup. So we're going to go to the center. Bloody edge mode. Okay, looks like we're fixing the problem that I was looking for. Because I've done this as a single face, I was missing that. I didn't understand where that had gone. I thought I'd cut it at one point. Actually, I need that. So we're going to go even further back. So we're going to go polygon extrude. I'm going to go back 15 mil. So grab that. So that gives me the top edge. So if I do L for a full loop round, unselect that top edge, do a quick unwrap. That's the bottom edge. So what I can do is grab each of those, stitch, oh, something's not happy there. Okay. So if you look at that in solid, it's going through the panel. So we are going to have to do a cutout on the panel for that, which, again, not a huge surprise. So let's just deal with that. Let's go on to the back. Actually, let us use what we've got. So if I grab that, I'm just going to turn it off for the moment and leave that in there. Might as well do both. Geometry. Oh, it's. No, it's not the same device. That's the backup artificial horizon in that location. So yeah, okay, it's on that side, right? So what I think we're going to end up doing. Yeah, the symmetry. Yeah, grumble, grumble, bitch, bitch. I was going to mirror it, but I think we're going to have to. I'll deal with that later. So I am just going to go geometry, boolean, solid drill, slice. I'm going to grab that square out of there. I'm going to rename this shape to cuts. Cuts, actually. Panel. Turn that off. You can see we can now see through that panel, that shape. I can get rid of... no, I'm not going to get rid of that just yet. So, there's actually a sphere in here that acts like... It behaves almost like an artificial horizon, but it's for drift, left and right, forward and backward, I believe, in relation to the pitch and yaw and roll of the aircraft. So, if that circle there is over to this right side, you're essentially rolling right, and these degrees are the angle that you roll. So obviously 40 degrees. So 10, 20, 30, 40. So pitch up, pitch down, I think. And then there's a drift indicator that comes in, I think. I don't know. Could be wrong, but we will see. But it's an instrument. We're going to deal with it. Or we're forced to deal with it. So grabbing that as a sensor, we're going to make ourselves a sphere that is roughly the same size as the dial surround. So 35 mil. We're going to go 16 by 16, I think. Or is that going to be too low res? Let's go on the right. So I want to bring that back in. Now the bit that we're never going to see past this back half, because if you consider, oh, actually no. I'm gonna redo this. Just because it is gonna make my life a little bit easier if I do this, because I can then reuse the sphere up there. Right. The center of that, it was 35 mil radius. And we're going to go 36, 36. That means every angle of that is 10 degrees. So we want to be at C40. this is actually going to be a lot bigger. Right, what did we say this thing was called again? Forward lateral velocity indicator. It's a directional VSI is kind of how I understood it. As far as I'm aware, it's used for hovering, but it's more, it allows you to center and see where your drift is. No, that's not what. That's about the controls, not the instrumentation. Don't remember ever seeing one in the little Robbie that I flew. So what I'm concerned with. Oh, here we go. This could be good. So this is the actual unit. Oh. So he was just fiddling with, yeah. Right. So it's not the ball that is moving, it is those wires. So that's easier to deal with. So that makes life a little bit easier. Seeing actually how it displays. So I'm going to get that. I'm going to go right. I'm going to spin this 90 degrees in the X. Actually, am I? Because that is just going to be a little bit easier for me to deal with. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, right, so I'm cutting from there. So we might as well just cut from here. So I want to leave that because that center block there is my pivot point. So we've got our little just got a snotty text message. Yes, you too can get stuff. Does anyone else getting messages from crypto services all of a sudden? Let's turn music back. I seem to be getting crypto everything at the moment. So I am going to do something that is just a temporary fix, actually. So I grab those edges there. Go edge, extend. So I can zero the height, zero the depth. And then if I go on vertex and join average, that gives me the absolute center of everything, X and Y, that I can pivot from. So I can just delete those. Because it's only 4 extra it's 8 extra faces according to this. Which it shouldn't be, so we'll fix that. Let's go on to the back view. Don't know why those are, oh, I do know why, because I cut them at an angle that is not quite the same. So again, this is just going to save me a little bit of time. So if let's go project from view. So I should, there we go. I'm thinking about how I'm going to paint this. So I can do the proper UV later. It's not the end of the world. It's just a bit of a surprise to me. That was all. So just stitching those back on. So we can get rid of that because we won't need that anymore. We can get rid of that. That can go into that texture. So I can bring this a little bit forward. So that's come forward 3.3 mil effectively. This back face, I grab that, and I can bring that right up to that back edge. Again, this is just about keeping the UV space. So if we compare this now, because I've just moved it 3 mil, so if I just do a quick unwrap on that, and I bring it back, you can see the difference. Now, that doesn't seem like much, but when you're packing everything in the UV, the better or the more efficient you are with your faces, the more UV space you're gonna have, which means by the time that you finish putting it all on the UV, you'll have more pixels per meter in your model. So it's a little bit more. It just gives you that little bit extra bit of resolution to play with. Right, so what I want to do now is grab this. Shouldn't make much of a difference. So I go to back. I think what I'm going to do just going to turn that back image off. think what we're going to do is remove that. And we're just going to extend this to, so it's 2 mil thick. Oh wow, 2 mil's a lot on this. So that's 1.5 mil thick. We'll do that. So I'm moving that up 750 or 0.75 of a millimeter. So we're bang on the center line again. So again, trying to be as efficient as possible. So I'm using the center. I'm going to scale that out ever so slightly. So it's 101%. So if we unwrap that as well, and just so it pops for the moment, I'm going to put it on a different material. So I'm going to go copy and paste. I'm going to rotate that in the Z90. And again, I am going to scale this ever so slightly. So instead of 101, I'm going to go 100.5. Because I don't want it to go too far out. But I don't want it to be colliding or clipping. So if I go back to this point, right, so there we go. So we can see that now, and we know that that will work and it won't clip, blah, blah, blah. So the question I have is, what the fuck are these flags for? I'm guessing maybe trim off, I don't know. See, that's the fact that that says knots. So that is that it must be knots of side movement rather than degrees of movement. So okay, fair enough. I'm just wondering if you go over 40 knots, because it is meant for drift for hover. I wonder, did the Robbie have something like? I'm pretty sure the Robbie had something like this, but I don't remember it being in this format. So let's just go R22 in instruments. Because I flew R22 and R44. See, I remember that as the drift and because there's a drift in the ADR, but there's nothing else. At least there's nothing else I remember. VSI, optional position, that's a VOR indicator, so that's navigational. Do you do R44 as well? It doesn't really matter, really. I'm going off on a tangent myself here at the moment. So see how far we are in. We are 2 hours 44, which is probably why I need a pee. Yeah, it's 6 p.m. I'm probably gonna call it. You don't really need to see me do the rest of these other basic dials. I will leave the where are we? What was it? Cockpit panels. Oh, wrong one. CPIT panel. Right. I will leave the artificial horizon because I have a technique for doing these, and it's as much in the unwrap as it is in anything else. But all these other bits you don't really need to see, but we'll do that tomorrow. A lot of this is just going to be copy and paste of these, so I'm not stressing about that. This and that are the interesting ones, I think. So yeah, hopefully what I'll do is finish this either tomorrow morning and we'll stream tomorrow afternoon. I need to do these. I mean, this is essentially a variation on the B1 stick. I may have another 3D model that we can use because I did pick up somebody's 3D print model with the intention of making a real one, but you will see we also need to make this collective and rudder pedals and things. I'm probably jumping ahead, there's still so much to do with the back of the aircraft as well. But again, I don't think you really want to see the sort of the repetitive, monotonous crap that I do or I'm having to do. Anyway, tomorrow we'll do that. We'll definitely do the artificial horizon, and we'll probably make a start on the flight controls at the very least, because there's some interesting how-tos in there, or how I do it in there. But yeah, for the moment, I think we're going to call it quits. We've learnt a few bits. Taking 3 hours to get that long, which is probably more about me waffling than it is about actually doing the hard work. But that's it. That's for today, or for the moment. So hopefully see you again tomorrow, and hopefully you've had something useful out of it. Hopefully it's entertaining. Hopefully you're not laughing your ass at me being nostalgic. So anyway, thanks for watching if you have indeed watched. And I will see you in the morning. We'll see you tomorrow.